Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Very exciting video today. We're gonna be trying on a couple new things that I picked up from Sephora. I went back and got a couple more things that I had my eye on. Some of these I heard recommendations from some of you. Some of them just ended up in my cart. I'm not even sure how. And then one lip combination in particular, this lip combination I'm wearing today, I am wild about and I cannot wait to show you guys. So we're gonna try it all on today. I've got a new concealer, a new primer slash illuminating highlighter, a new lip liner and gloss, a new blush that we're trying out, and a new bronzer, cream bronzer, that had maybe the best reviews of any product I've ever seen on Sephora's website. Very excited to show you guys. I'm actually really happy with everything, how everything turned out. But before we get into all the makeup, if you are new here, a very special welcome to you. I hope that you enjoy this video today. Please consider subscribing to my channel and make sure that notification bell is turned on. But we do have a lot of makeup to put on, so let's get right to it. Let's kick it off with a new primer that I picked up. I got the Milk Makeup Bionic Glow Illuminator. I'm gonna try this out as a primer. I know technically this is kind of like a multi-purpose product. You can use it mixed with your foundation. You can use it underneath or on top as like a liquid highlighter. So here it is right here. I'll insert a close-up for you guys right here along with the price. This has 0.91 ounces of product. Let's open it up and have a look at the shade. I ended up going, I think they had two shades. I went with the shade Virtual, which was I think the lighter of the two. This one's a little more like pink or kind of flesh toned glow, so there's a little dollop of it right there. And then they had one that was more, a little bit deeper and a little more like golden in tone. So there, that's kind of what it looks like. I don't imagine that would work great for me as a standalone highlighter, but that's not really why I got this. I really got this more as like a primer or a mix-in with foundations, which is something I've been doing a lot with my Stay Glowy Super Gel, with my Charlotte Tilbury. So we're gonna try and apply this all over the high points of my face. Ooh, it feels very, very soft and hydrating. That does give a really pretty glow. Do you guys see that? Okay, that feels really nice. Hopefully you guys can kind of see that glow that it gave me. Hopefully that will show up underneath the foundation I'm going to be using today. So I'm on the fence about which foundation I want to use. I kind of wanted to go back and use my Kosas foundation, which I cannot stop using this foundation lately. It is so, so good. I want to go back and get a darker shade because this one's just a hair light on me and I want to have two shades so I can combine them to get the right shade match, especially as my skin tone fluctuates so much throughout the year. But I also got a sample of the Makeup Forever HD Skin Foundation, which has also been on my list of foundations to try for a while. And it looks like a pretty generous samples. I'm thinking about using this one today. I know a lot of you guys have recommended this foundation to me. I've heard a lot of good things. I loved the original HD foundation. It's one of my favorite high-end foundations for a long time, so I'm curious how this one compares if the formula is a lot different than it used to be. Let's go ahead and give it a try. This is the lightest shade that was in the sample, the shade Y245, which was my actual shade in the original HD foundation. I'm gonna apply it with my foundation brush. This is the Luxie foundation brush. Just gonna start tapping that on. Oh yeah, perfect shade match. I love when that happens. So this is definitely less dewy than the Kosas. Not that I was expecting them to be similar in formula. I was surprised at how dewy this foundation is, the Kosas Revealer. It's a lot dewier than I was expecting, which I personally am loving. But I imagine if you're not into dewy kind of hydrating, or I mean, it's not glossy, it's just a really moisturizing, hydrating foundation. If you like a more satin finish, you probably wouldn't like that one, I would guess. This one is feeling a little bit more satin to the touch. Okay, so I would say that's like a natural, kind of satiny, almost leaning matte finish. It doesn't have a ton of hydration in it. I'm not sure that you're really seeing that glow from that primer beneath this foundation. I mean, I do see a little subtle glow right here on the top of my cheekbones. But again, I just think this foundation is a lot more matte feeling than what I've been preferring more recently. Just taking the tiniest bit more, just going across this area of my face where I have a little extra discoloration. So now that everything's all blended in, just based on what I'm initially feeling and seeing, it feels a little bit more matte or satin than I remember the original HD foundation feeling. I know that this one is meant to be like 24-hour wear, sweat proof, smudge proof, waterproof it says. I imagine that's probably why it's kind of more of like a matte finish, because generally those tend to wear a little bit better. I'll be honest, I don't love the more matte looking finish on me. It's just not what I typically prefer, but we'll see how it wears throughout the day if it ends up drying my skin out. I do have naturally dry skin. It doesn't look bad. I just am not like wildly in love with it based on that first quick impression. Let's move on to a concealer. I did pick up a new concealer. This is the Sephora Best Skin Ever Full Coverage Multi-Use Concealer. This was on sale during their sale for pretty cheap. I want to say I got this for like $10 or $12. Looks like a pretty big bottle. Surprisingly, it says there's only 0.3 ounces in this, which is not terrible. But like, for example, even my Revlon concealer, my Candid concealer, that one has 0.33 ounces. Let me just grab it real quick. Here it is. So this looks like a smaller tube, but it has more product in it. So just as a frame of reference, not bad. Again, this is a more affordable concealer because it is Sephora brand. I went with the shade 17.5N. There's a quick little swipe right there. Let me just, maybe it'll be fine. Just a good like perimeter of my face shade. Good for covering up dark spots. Not great for adding a little brightness to my under eye area, likely, but I'm gonna use it anyways today, even though I feel like it might be a touch dark to use on my eyelid and inner corner there. But I'm gonna tap that in with this clean sponge. Shade match wise, I think it'll be just fine. It's kind of giving me like a very subtle burning sensation is the right word. That sounds bad. I wouldn't say that it's that intense, but a subtle kind of tingly sensation around my eyes. Not quite sure why that is, if that's necessarily a bad thing. I guess if this ends up breaking me out or something, I'll keep you guys posted. Maybe there's a reason I'm feeling that sensation. I know it's not meant to, like, it's not advertised as having caffeine or anything in it. It does say it's anti-pollution. I don't know exactly what that means. Maybe there is caffeine or vitamin C or something in it that is giving me that kind of tingly feel. It's subsiding. It's not extreme, but it's just something I'm noticing that I don't often notice with most concealers, with the exception of the Revlon Color Stay Concealer. All right, so there we have it. I feel like my skin looks very mattified. I haven't even put any powder on yet. In fact, I'm only going to apply powder to my eyelids. I don't even think I want to apply it to the center of my forehead because I feel like the glow that I was getting from my Bionic Glow product has kind of been masked over by that mattifying foundation. So far, I'm kind of glad that I went with the Kosas rather than this one because I'm not sure I'm loving this one so far. Okay, let's move on to the rest of the cheeks. I do have a new bronzer here. This is from a brand that I got so many recommendations on. It's a brand I've heard a lot about. It's from the brand Merit. This is their Bronze Balm Sheer Bronzer Stick. I ended up going with the shade Clay. I'll insert a close-up of the product right here for you guys along with the price. So here it is right here. Ooh, it looks very fancy. It's very lightweight feeling. Like it looks like very sturdy metal, which is fine. I just, for some reason, when I saw this, was thinking it would be heavier than it is. Ooh, there we go. Let's give this a little swatch on the back of my hand. Interesting shade. It kind of looks warm, but not necessarily orange. So I'm curious about this shade. I did want to show you guys or give you a quick comparison on the size of the product. So this has 0.44 ounces of bronzer inside of it, whereas here is the Cheeks Out bronzer by Fenty. Their cream bronzer has 0.22 ounces of product. So it does have quite a bit more than the Fenty one does. This one feels almost like a liquid. Very curious how this is going to go on. So we're just going to take it directly on my bronzer brush here. All right, let's just start tapping this in. This bronzer had the best reviews. I think it had nearly perfect reviews, which shocked me. When I was looking at some of Merit's products, I know a lot of people have talked about their like blush balms, those little blush sticks. Those are actually out of stock when I was looking, and I ended up going with a different blush instead that we'll get to in a sec, but I was just so shocked at how good the reviews were on this product. I had to try it. That went on really easy, blended out really easy. It almost blends more like the Charlotte Tilbury Contour Wand than a traditional cream bronzer because it is so emollient and thin. Very interesting. Kind of feel like this is very unique. I'm not quite sure what to compare this to. I do like the shade of it though. I was worried it might be a little bit too warm, but that seems to work. Next, I have a new blush. I ended up going back and buying a full size of the Liss Beauty Satin Matte Cream Blush. I went with the shade Self Love. This is one that a few of you recommended. I've heard a lot of good things about this. And again, this is one of those products that had really fantastic reviews when I was looking at different blushes on Sephora's website. So here is the actual product itself. I mentioned that I don't know how I feel about the triangle packaging. I feel like it's just gonna kind of stick out like a sore thumb inside my drawer, but I'm not totally opposed to it. It is kind of interesting and different. Very pretty packaging. I love the rose gold effect of this. It feels very nice and high end. You do get a mirror on the inside of the lid. Interesting shade. This looks very dark and pigmented. I did read through some of the reviews on this product. Most of them were very, very positive. I did see one review from someone that said this blush is way too sheer and doesn't show up, which made me a little bit nervous. But looking at this now, and I mean, look at this swatch, you guys. I cannot imagine that this is going to have a difficult time showing up on my skin. I think that reviewer did say something along the lines of that she is someone that does like a very bold looking blush. So maybe that had something to do with her slightly negative review. It does say this is supposed to be like a satin matte finish. It feels pretty glossy. I'm curious to see how it goes on. We're gonna apply it just with my typical Alter Ego blush that I apply most of my cream and liquid blushes with. Just gonna take a little bit on my brush and tap it on the back of my hand so I don't have too much product, and we'll slowly build this up. I do like this color. Very pretty berry tone. I actually went back to try and pick up the gift set that they had where they had the 3 different shades in the smaller packaging, and it was sold out, so I ended up going with the full size instead. Very happy with the shade. I feel like this is one of those shades that would look good on just about anyone. Again, pretty pigmented. I don't know what that reviewer was talking about. I feel like this is a pretty pigmented blush. Again, I'll keep you guys posted on how that one wears as well. Let's move on to a highlighter. I do not have a new highlighter today, unless I just don't feel like this is gonna work very well because it's more like my skin tone shade. It's not really lighter than my skin tone. So let's just use a highlighter I already have. Let's just use my Essence Pure Nude highlighter. I've got it here on top of my desk. It's another one I've been really enjoying lately. Run that a little bit to my brow bone. I was a little negative on that foundation, but one thing I'm noticing now that like my cheeks are kind of all put together, I definitely feel like that foundation, like my pores in this area right here look better. I mean, as much as I love a glowy foundation, they do emphasize this area of my face where I have some larger pores, and I feel like that foundation kind of blurred those a little bit, which I think was one of its claims. I think it did say that it's meant to kind of blur. Okay, cheeks are done. Let's go in with some brow products. So I'm just gonna use a little bit of my e.l.f. wax pencil, the Shape and Stay brow stick. Let's just brush that through, and then we'll just use this Benefit pencil for today. Keep it simple. So I don't have a new eyeshadow palette, but I wanna go back and use the Empowered eyeshadow palette again. I didn't have mixed feelings. I really liked this palette the first time I used it, but I did mention in my updates in that video, which I just posted down below, that this shade right here, which is a True Cream, did crease on me a little bit. I haven't actually used it since with a proper primer, but I have used this palette a lot since then. I want to do a different look with it today and show you guys how stellar this shade, this taupe right here is. So we're going to use that shade today along with a couple others. Do kind of a simple look today, nothing too fancy. I don't think I'm gonna use the creams today, but I am still loving this palette. I think it creates some really, really beautiful looks. So we're gonna start off in this shade right here. I know that on screen, it looks almost like a cream. It's quite peachy in tone. It has, for being a lighter shade, it does have quite a bit of pigment in it. I'll pop a little bit of this above the crease, so hopefully you guys will see that peachy kind of creamsicle-ness come out in this shade as I put it on. This is just my Sydney Grace smaller blending brush. Now we're gonna add a little bit more depth. Let's go with this shade right here in the top corner of this shade. Keep going. Actually, you know what? This shade I feel like is gonna match my sweater even better. Let's use this one down here. You know I can't resist. This one has a little bit more kind of pink in it. It's more of like a rose gold. Let me just give a little swatch for you guys. The back of my hand, very pretty. Let's use that one. We're gonna pop this right above the lash line and drag it in right at the crease about halfway in. Okay, I know I said we'd stop there, but I wanna take just a tiny bit of this shade right here. It's a little bit more cool tone than this one, a little bit deeper. I'm just gonna take the tiniest amount, again, same brush that I've been using the whole time, and just place that little C shape right in this outer corner right there. All right. Have a look at that. Isn't that beautiful? So impressed with the mattes inside here. Let's go into this shade now. Again, I still have the complaint that I made in that video. The one complaint I have is that there's not one shade that's a lighter shade in here. This one's pretty light, the one we're gonna be using right now, and it works just fine all over my lid, kind of as my inner corner and lid shade. But I still think this palette, for me personally, would be that much better if it had just like a champagne. But that said, this shade is beautiful. And you know what this reminds me of? In fact, let's swatch them side by side, which I haven't done yet. So here is the Huda Beauty the one that we're using right now. This is called Bold Moves. It is absolutely glorious. It kind of reminds me, maybe a little bit more taupey in tone, but it reminds me a little bit of the shade in the center of the Nomad palette. Oh my gosh, they are a little similar. So there we have them. You can see they're slightly different. This one has it's a little bit deeper, a little bit more taupey and cool tone, but they're similar on the lid. Like they have a similar effect. The finishes are similar. They have that same kind of gold reflect that's really lovely. So no wonder I love this shade so much. All right, we're gonna add a little bit of liner. Take a little bit of my Wet n Wild liner. I'm just gonna do the same technique I did in my last video where I do just kind of a subtle wing, and then we're gonna add a little bit of mascara. I'll take my Tower 28 mascara today. I will apply those, then we'll come back and finish off with a couple new products I have for the lips. And here are the finished eyes. Wow, isn't that a gorgeous look? Such a pretty lid color. I absolutely love that. Let's move on to the lips. I do have two new lip products. I picked up a new lip liner. I was curious to try out this Natasha Denona I Need a Rose lip crayon. I was gonna go with the one that came in her My Favorites collection, but it was out of stock. But this one also had nearly perfect reviews. It's supposed to be long lasting, which I'm very curious to try out those claims. You guys know I'm always raving about the Charlotte Tilbury lip liners that I love. Oh my gosh, this shade looks kind of like every other shade that I own, but exactly like the type of shade that I absolutely adore. Very Mac Whirl-esque slash Milani 03 Nude, Charlotte Tilbury Iconic Nude kind of esque. Kind of like a beigey rose. It's like a mid-tone. I love colors like this. So I want to do one thing. I'm going to take a swatch of the Charlotte Tilbury right next to it. Okay, yeah, these shades are so similar to each other. So here's the Charlotte Tilbury one right there on top. I think the Charlotte Tilbury one has a little less rosiness to it, but they are nearly identical. Then let's do one more thing. We're gonna swatch the LA Girl Nonstop Nude shade. Again, this is one of my longer wearing lip liner formulas. We're gonna just give them a little swatch, let them set down, then we're gonna do a quick little like rub test once I'm done with my lips, just to see if there's a difference in how they wear off or rub off. So I don't think I mentioned what shade this is. This is the I Need a Rose Lip Crayon in the shade Calla. I think they had 3 different shades in this little set or collection that she did. So let's go ahead and overline my lips a little bit with this pencil. I do have a couple little spots here on my, like little, I don't know, like little tiny clogged pores or something on my lips. I've been getting a lot of these lately. Ooh, I love this color. Just on application, this one doesn't feel, this feels a little more creamy than the Charlotte Tilbury one. It doesn't feel quite as kind of thick and waxy as the Charlotte one does, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it won't last as long. Maybe if you thought the Charlotte Tilbury ones were a little too thick and pulled a little too much, you might like this one a little bit better. I'm just filling in very slightly. Give that a couple minutes to set down just to make sure that we get the maximum like long-lasting effect out of it. So while we're waiting, before we get to the new gloss that we're gonna try, let me just give a quick comparison as far as how much product are in these two pencils compared to each other. So the Natasha Denona one has 1.2 grams of product, 0.04 ounces. Looks like the Charlotte one's exactly the same, 1.2 grams, 0.04 ounces. So as far as how much you're getting, these are identical price-wise. I can't remember how much I paid for this one. I think the Charlotte Tilbury ones are 22, if I remember right. I imagine they're about the same price. Okay, so now we're gonna go in with a gloss. I did pick up a new shade of the Tower 28 lip gloss. I went with the shade Oat. I have the shade Coconut, which, let me just grab that one real quick. All right, here's Coconut right here. I don't dislike this shade. It's just a little bit brighter pink than I typically like on me personally, unless I'm going for that lip. I know this is one of their most popular shades though. So here's the shade Coconut. It is pretty. I don't know, I need to use this more. I don't know why I was a little bit underwhelmed with this. Here's the shade I went with, shade Oat. I love milky shades like this, kind of like a milky peach it looks like. Kind of reminds me just out of the tube of like creme brulee, or I have one from Uoma Beauty that's similar. So there it is right there. There's Oat, that one's Coconut. So let's top that lip liner with a bit of this gloss. Ooh, nice. These are very, very comfortable. That is gorgeous. What a pretty lip combination. So when I go back to those swatches that I did on my hand, they've probably been on there for about 3 to 5 minutes. They may not be set all the way down quite yet. I think they are. So we're gonna go in with a little rag right here. I'm just gonna go kind of up and down. Remember, we have the Natasha Denona, Charlotte Tilbury, LA Girl one on the outside. It's just a dry rag. I'm just rubbing back and forth. I'm pressing pretty hard. Okay, they are all holding up really well. Very impressed. So I have a good feeling about this lip liner. I think it's probably gonna last really well, similar to the Charlotte Tilbury. I'll keep an eye on it throughout the day, even over the next couple days, and I'll leave you guys a comment down below how it wore. But I think that is everything for the new products that I had to share with you guys today. Very happy with everything so far. I'm really eager to go back with the Milk Makeup Bionic Glow product and try this out with some of my other foundations. I actually think my skin looks really good. I wasn't wild about that foundation after I had applied it. It felt a little bit like the finish seemed a little bit matte for me, but it feels really comfortable on the skin. And now that I have the rest of my cheek products done, it actually looks really nice. And I am really loving how minimized my pores look right there. So I'll keep an eye on that throughout the day and let you guys know how it wore. As for everything else, love the blush, love the bronzer so far. I'll let you guys know how those were by the end of the day. The concealer I'm gonna need a little bit more time with. That tingly sensation went away. I feel like the coverage was really good. I'm actually pretty happy with the shade of this one, the shade 17.5. Probably the middle of winter, I'm gonna need a lighter shade than this for the center of my face, but it actually worked really good on the perimeter and I thought the coverage was really nice. So I'll keep you posted on that one as well. The lip products look amazing. Very happy with this color of lip gloss. This is much more a me color than the shade Coconut, which is a little bit brighter. I'm just so boring with my nude lips. I like a very basic nude lip and I like most of my color to come from either my lipstick or my lip liner rather than my gloss. So this one was a win for me. Let me know if you guys have tried out some of these products. I'm sure a lot of them you have tried out. I've heard a lot of good things about these over the last several months. Some of these have been out for quite a while, but I'd love to hear your thoughts if you have them down in the comments below. Hope you guys are all doing well. Let me give you one last reminder. If you have not yet subscribed to my channel, I hope you'll consider doing that before you leave. And I will see all of you guys very soon in my next video. Bye. I bought my Christmas decorations for in here, like for my table back there yesterday. I'm so excited to decorate for Christmas. I'm putting them up early this year because my son, who's away at college, he's coming home for Thanksgiving and then he has to go back for like 3 weeks and he won't be home till like the 15th of December. And I kind of feel like he's gonna get, I'm sure he doesn't care that much about the Christmas decorations. I'm sure that's just a me thing. I just feel like he's gonna be missing out on some of the like Christmas feels. I also know that a lot of people describe people that are into The Office as being kind of it's a little bit culty, which I think I kind of understand why you'd say that.